Hey, my name is Ryan, and you're watching Creative Sound Lab, where audio recording is an art form. Well, before we start this week's episode, I want to mention that I'm enrolling students right now, this week, in my recording school here at Creative Sound Lab. This course is really going to cover a few key things that are going to be huge game changers for you in the way that you're getting sounds, the results that you're getting, and what you're ultimately able to create and mix. First of all, I want to teach you fundamentals, stuff that maybe you haven't learned yet or that you skipped over. It's going to have huge effects on everything that you do. Second, I want to teach you how to get your own unique sound, how to develop your own unique musical fingerprint on the way that you engineer and the way that you mix. Then, I want to teach you some practical advice on dealing with clients, building a small business, really survival for small business as a studio owner, and how to develop a portfolio so that you're building into future projects and really becoming an on-demand person in the audio industry. So check out the link below. I really hope to talk with you to see if it's a right fit for you. Well, for this week's episode, I want to take a break from the series on the mastering of recording drums without samples. I'm going to be addressing a really common question. I get flack for this all the time, and people are always asking me below in the comments of my videos, why do you really need a Reamp box for reamping? Why can't I just reuse that DI box instead? Why can't I just run it in reverse? The short answer is you can. There's a few differences I want to tell you about when I'm sitting by the amp and reviewing the different boxes that I'll be demonstrating today. But I want to give you some really concrete audio files, and you can download them by following the link on the upper right using the little info button. But I want to be playing for you various scenarios of how to get sounds into an amp. You can decide for yourself if you have to buy a Reamp box or not. Now, I know for me that it really has made a difference. When I plug something in, it sounds exactly like it's coming from the DAW. It sounds like I'm literally soloing something, but it has the coloration of the amp. So I'm spitting vocals into amps, I'm spitting drum set, bass guitar, which is a totally different frequency range from guitar. And for me, the decision was clear. I want to get a Reamp box to make sure that my signals are as close as possible to as if a guitarist was standing in front of that amp. So let's check it out. I want to show you some audio examples and really let you decide for yourself if you need a Reamp box when you reamp guitar. Okay, so in my test for this episode, I went through all the stuff that I've tried. And whether it sounds stupid or not, I went ahead and tried it for this episode. So just real quick, the first one is the Reamp box, which I use for everything. I use it for drum loops, vocal, bass guitar, really everything. I use this box a lot. JDI, respectable passive DI box, great for bass guitar, Jensen transformer inside of it, pretty good DI box. Then I have these kind of El Cheapo kind of things. These are adapters, and they have transformers inside of them. They're very small, but these are transformers, convert from balanced to unbalanced. And then the last demonstration I'll have for you today is basically plugging straight out of the DAW. So I know people try this stuff. I'm going to be trying everything. But I keep getting this question why can't I just use a DI box in reverse? The biggest difference is attenuation, okay? So right off the bat, signals coming out of this box are about 28 dB less than signals coming out of this box. So what does this mean? Well, in order to really play signals backwards through this box, you have to turn down the tracks by 28 dB in order to get them close to what this box is doing. Okay? So 28 dB. Now, some signals may require more. If you're doing bass guitar, I think I remember turning the signal on the bass guitar, the actual track on the DAW, about -50 dB. That was most of the range of the fader. It's like almost turning your track all the way down. Now the problem with that is that when you turn it down so much, you're actually using less bits. Okay, so typically we record at 24 bits. Okay, that's 6 dB for every bit. If you're turning down to -50, that's pretty much getting close to a 16-bit signal. Okay, you're mathematically you're using just 16 bits, and right off the bat, that in theory means you're spitting out lower resolution of a signal. Okay, for a process that's trying to emulate the sound of a guitar in front of the amp, it's not supposed to impart its own sound, but you're losing resolution at that point. The other factor, this is part 2 of this, is the other factor is because you're so low, the analog portions of your converter, it's spitting out this signal, real low signal. Whatever noise floor was there is all of a sudden creeping up on your good signal. And it may cause you some harm. It may start to be noticeable. It may start to bother you. And when you're spitting this out at crazy volumes, that noise floor all of a sudden is loud. It's hard to like talk over. So that's part 2 is the noise floor. So you can attenuate the signal, but your converters aren't as happy. You get a little bit less resolution with the bits that you're using, and your noise floor is going to be higher. So one way to combat this is to use a padded XLR cable. Okay, this is just an H-pad. Just please look this up. You'll have to know how to solder and put in a couple different resistors into the backside of these pins in the XLR connector. But what this is doing is knocking it down from here, about -20 dB. So what this means is that I can run the signal a little hotter. In my test, I was able to run it at -12 instead of -28. And so it's not perfect math, it's not perfect -20 pad, but running it at -12 means my converters are a little more happy in the type of signal it's outputting, okay? It's designed to output signals, kind of about there, so it's gonna be happy. In theory, this all should give us better results. So converters are a little bit more happy, the noise floor is pushed down a little bit more, okay? About -18 or so lower noise floor, and it's not pushing the passive DI box as hard. Now that was kind of my best results. Okay, we're gonna hear all these examples, but that was my best implementation of all this. In my test, I did a test with the test tone. They all checked in at 118 dB, a foot out at 90 degrees from the amp, C-weighted, like that even matters, but it was a consistent reading on the dB. So I know that all the audio examples are going to be consistently the right volume, the same volume. And all of these actually checked out. All of these 2 adapters with transformers and the passive DI box, they all checked out to be the same volume within a dB. This obviously was 28 dB softer than these. And so what I had to do is reduce these by 28 dB to get them equal. When using the padded cable, I reduced these by -12 to get them the same as the Reamp box. So let's check out these examples, and you can decide for yourself if you think it's worth the investment of getting a Reamp box. Okay, first I just want to show you the noise floor for each of these reamping methods. This is without playing the tracks. This is just the noise coming into the amp using the different methods. Here's some examples of a Les Paul track being played into the amp. Okay, so those were just a few of the audio examples representing the scenarios that you may face when trying to reamp. I'll let you decide if you think it's good to buy a dedicated reamp box or not. That's totally up to you. But I know for me, there's a few things that fundamentally work better than others. And there's a way that technology in the audio world is designed to work. For example, running things that are balanced versus running signals that are unbalanced. There's a way and there's a circuit, there's a reason why certain things work the way that they do. So for me in my studio, I decided, I really think it's worth $100 to invest in something that'll get me really good clean signal on anything from bass to vocal to drums, all the weird stuff that doesn't sit in the middle of the frequency range like guitar does. So for me, I went the Reamp Box, and I use it just about every time that I mix. I'm always looking for fresh sounds. Also, make sure to check out my recording school. If you're looking for something that really puts you to that next level, really gives you an ability to find your own sound as a recording engineer or a mixing engineer, and really develops you into somebody that is sought out by bands because of your sound, I'd really love to talk with you. I'd really love to hear about where you are in your progress, what kind of projects you have been doing, and where you'd like to go. I'd really love to help you develop your sound and your skill as an audio engineer. I hope to talk to you soon, and I'll see you next week.